What's happening, everybody? On today's show, the preseason coaches, all SEC football teams are out. Who got snubbed? Locked On SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along on today's show. We'll hit on those preseason all-SEC coaches teams. Did Bama Tamper for their kicker? And conversation with Laura Rutledge as well. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to our everydayers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network covering your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It is a brand new mobile game that is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. Use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Begin your coaching legacy today. All right, let's dive right into it as Georgia has placed a league-leading 15 players on the 2024 preseason coaches all SEC football team. The SEC announced on Thursday. Alabama was second with 14 representatives, followed by Texas with 10. 12 schools had at least one first team all SEC representative, including a conference best 5 from Georgia. 9 SEC schools had multiple first team selections. The SEC, of course, will begin their schedule in less than a week. Next Thursday, we get Arkansas kicking off against Arkansas Pine Bluff, and we get Mizzou playing host to Murray State. But as we look at the first team selection, again, this is the preseason coaches all SEC team. No surprise here. A lot of the same names we've been throwing out there for a lot of these first team teams. But on offense, quarterback Carson Beck from Georgia, 2 running backs. They list Jarquez Hunter from Auburn and Trevor Etienne from Georgia. At wide receiver, they list 2, Luther Burton from Missouri, Trey Harris from Ole Miss, Caden Priestcorn, the Ole Miss tight end. He makes it at the tight end spot. Your 5 offensive linemen, again, a lot of same guys. Cooper Mays at center from Tennessee, Kelvin Banks from Texas, Tate Rutledge from Georgia, Tyler Booker from Alabama, Will Campbell from LSU, and Xavier Thomas, all-purpose from LSU. Again, he was at Mississippi State, now at LSU, and a lot of people expected big things from him in the return game. As for defensively, on the D-line, it's James Pierce from Tennessee. It's Deion Walker from Kentucky, Walter Nolan at Ole Miss, Nazir Stackhouse from Georgia. And they list a 5th defensive lineman in Landon Jackson from Arkansas. I don't know what defense you're running with 5 D linemen, but there was a tie there, so that's why they had 5. Harold Perkins, Danny Stutzman, and Deontay Lawson are your 3 linebackers. It's a pretty damn good group. I would take that trio of linebackers on just about any team in college football. And then your secondary, it's Malachi Starks, defensive back from Georgia, Malachi Moore from Bama, Billy Bowman from Oklahoma, and Max Hairston from Kentucky, who, of course, had those pick sixes and stuff last year, a lot of interceptions. Special teams, it's the Texas kicker, Burt Auburn, Alabama punter, James Burnip, and then return specialist, Barian Brown from Kentucky, and Alex McPherson, kickoff specialist for Auburn. So that was your first team. I'm not going to run through the whole second team, but just kind of some of the highlights of guys who made the second team all SEC coaches team. Quinn Ewers from Texas at quarterback. Rocket Sanders actually making this list, running back from South Carolina. He's got to get healthy, but if he gets healthy, some people expecting big things from him. Oscar Delp, Georgia tight end, who of course replaces Brock Bowers. Your second team wide receivers, Isaiah Bond, former Bama guy now at Texas, Kyron Lacey at LSU. Kyron Lacey finally getting some love. It was interesting. Some of those preseason lists, they had odds for CJ Daniels, the Liberty, Liberty transfer to lead LSU in receiving yards. Kyron Lacey starting to get a little bit more love. He's that next guy in line with, LSU losing the pieces that they lost to the draft last year, Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. He's the next guy in line. Defensively, how about 2 A&M defensive linemen, Shamar Turner and Nick Scorton, transfer from Purdue, making that list. And just other names of note, Smile Munden and Michael Williams from Georgia making the second team list. Third team quarterback was Jalen Milroe, so a quick hat tip to Jalen Milroe. But that's your coaches preseason all SEC teams. Again, a lot of stuff starts to get repetitive because it's a lot of the same dudes. It's like we know the hype, we know who we think should be good this year. Now it's time to go prove it. And bigger picture topic that kind of came up on a couple of the radio shows I was doing yesterday is the SEC going to be really good at quarterback this year? Like, it feels that way if we start running through that list like we did earlier this week on the show. So the big time quarterbacks, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart. I mean, these are all guys that are listed at the top of the list of experience. But what is Garrett Nussmeier? What is Nico Iamaleava? What is, these guys that are kind of the unknowns, if they live up to the hype immediately? Jackson Arnold as young starting quarterbacks, man, it really will make, we'll be talking about maybe 2024 is one of the strongest years in recent history when it comes to the SEC and quarterback play. So, people always like to point back to that time where you had, like, it was Zach Mettenberger, and you had, it was Johnny Manziel at A&M, and you had, it was like this string of really good quarterbacks doing their thing in the SEC. Like, just about everybody had a dude, and it certainly could be that way again this year in the SEC if it plays out that way. So one other tidbit of news here I wanted to get to is kind of interesting. There was an announcement made about 2 weeks ago that Texas A&M and Texas were going to have a big meeting or a presentation, an announcement, if you will, in Houston on Thursday of this week. Well, we got that announcement yesterday, and it was an announcement concerning the Lone Star Showdown. And it was like, man, this is a big deal. What is this going to be? And a lot of people were hypothesizing, saying maybe they're going to play Texas versus Texas A&M in Houston on a neutral field. Is this going to happen? Well, no. It was an announcement to announce that Cotton Holdings is a company that's going to sponsor the year-long scoring system, basically in every sport between Texas and Texas A&M. So they call it the Lone Star Showdown. It's a rivalry renewed between Texas and Texas A&M. Of course, this will be the first football matchup between the in-state rivals since 2011. But with the two programs finally reuniting, the annual rivalry series has a title sponsor now. And of course, I believe they play as early as the next couple of days. They meet in volleyball. So that'll be the first matchup between A&M and Texas as conference foes again. And of course, they'll fight for state supremacy, I guess. Texas tweeted out a showdown unlike any other. It's the Cotton Holdings Lone Star Showdown. So it was a little bit, all things considered, it was a little bit deflating, like in terms of the announcement. But I do think it's a good thing to keep this game on the college campuses. To me, it would have been a real miss to say play this thing in Houston, because one, you take it off a college campus and you lose. You lose the excitement of playing on a college campus, but you lose seating as well. I mean, you could seat more people in Darrell K. Royal Stadium and Kyle Field than you can if you were playing in Houston at NRG or whatever the stadium is called now. But pretty funny, as the athletic directors were up in front of the podium speaking yesterday, and we heard from Chris Del Conte, we heard from Trev Alberts, both the A&M and Texas athletic directors. And here was kind of a funny quote from Chris Del Conte up on the podium.
Secondly, I think I had the dutiful knowledge to tell you that it is going to be a neutral site game. We're going to move the game to Dallas one year. The next year we are going to move to... Just joking. How ridiculous is that? To see Coach, holy cow, we're not doing that. Everyone just puckered up just a little bit.
So pretty funny moment there from Chris Del Conte. Obviously, it was a joke. They're not taking the game off the college campuses. But, it is worth noting that they fought like hell, A&M did, to get that rivalry back in College Station at the start of the rivalry renewed. The last time they played this rivalry in 2011, they played in College Station. Well, now they pick it up again, and they play in College Station. So, a little bit of maybe A&M gets a little bit of an upper head there, saying, well, we were in the SEC first, you followed us here, so we get the first home game. And by the way, I keep saying that game is going to be like A&M. I don't even know what A&M's record is going to be at the end of the year, but they're going to treat that game like it's their Super Bowl, and they're going to put everything they have into beating Texas in that game. And so we'll see what happens when we get there, but that's been one of my offseason predictions, is I think Texas A&M beats Texas in that final game of the season. We'll see what both teams' records are when they get there. But like I said, it was a little bit of a letdown in terms of, huge announcement. Okay, you have a corporate sponsor. Great. My question is, Does Cotton Holdings, do they have like NIL deals? Will that start trickling down to the players, and we'll get them some NIL deals and some more money? So we'll see what happens there. But nonetheless, that's happening. And again, breaking news: A&M and Texas, their rivalry is staying on campus. Now, when is it going to be played? We'll see. Do they opt to, in the future, do they move to that Friday? Do they move to Thanksgiving night? There's a lot of things that can happen with that rivalry. But thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, we're going to run around the conference, including a story that came out yesterday. Did Alabama tamper for their kicker? We'll get to that here in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys again about one of our new sponsors here at Locked On SEC, and that is Ultimate College Football HC, or Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It's an amazing new game and simulation where you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. You could be the college football head coach of any team you want. You pick the state that you want to be the head coach of. And look, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staff to overseeing training camps and handling school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of your program. It's all in your hands. Will you be able to handle the pressure? Here's what we really love about the game. You're responsible for calling offensive plays during the game. Your strategy will not only determine the success of your football season, but will shape the future and legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football HC is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On SEC fans. So use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, Locked On CFB, inside the game store. You'll receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to take advantage of this perk, as it'll get your team off to a strong start. Download the game. Just go to this website, ultimate-cfb.com, ultimate-cfb.com, or look it up in the app stores, Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Really fun game. Remind you back of kind of like those computer games you used to play, and you're in full control. You can kind of be the GM/coach of the team. And go check them out today. All right, roll along here at Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Hey, college football is back, and it's not too late to catch up before the season kicks off. SEC, ACC, Big 10, Big 12, you can get it all from Locked On stable of college football experts by subscribing to Locked On College Football, the podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoffs? What teams will cause chaos in the new conferences? Everything you need to know in one place. Check out, follow, and subscribe. Locked On College Football, part of Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. All right, we dive into it as one of the big stories that came out yesterday. Of course, we know earlier this offseason, Alabama going into the transfer portal and bringing a ton through the portal. It brought in a handful of dudes, and one of the guys they brought in was kicker Graham Nicholson. Now, Graham Nicholson was the 2023 Lou Groza Award winner at Miami of Ohio last year in the MAC, and played his first 3 seasons there and was incredible. Like we said, won the Lou Groza Award, award for best kicker. Well, when talking about his upcoming squad, Miami of Ohio coach Chuck Martin, doing an interview earlier this week, he went off on Nicholson's departure, describing it as the program losing the kicker. And here is what he said. He said, "We didn't lose him. He's at Alabama. We know exactly where he's at. Again, you media people, it's all pretend. Alabama stole our kicker. They illegally recruited our kicker and stole him from us. That's a fact. But we act like we live in this la-la world. Hey, let's talk reality. Everybody knows what's going on. Alabama stole our kicker. A couple other schools tried to steal him." Look, we've heard this from coaches, throughout this process of the transfer portal, of coaches alleging, tampering. This school, they were talking our player and they shouldn't have been, or this school was offering our guy, and all this kind of stuff. Look, the NCAA has been criticized for the lack of enforcement when it comes to tampering rules. But again, Nicholson remained at Miami of Ohio, after he entered the transfer portal in December. On April 19th, he again reported to be in the portal, and on April 21st, he announced his commitment to Alabama. Kalen DeBoer was asked about it yesterday at practice, and he was just kind of laughed it off. He said, look, we didn't do anything outside of the realms of what we're supposed to do. We followed the rules. So, I'm sure folks will look into it, but come on, it's over a kicker. Like if we were talking about, I don't know, one of the big time quarterbacks or big time running backs, if this were Ohio State, they were tampering with Quinshon Judkins at Ole Miss. Like, yeah, I would make a bigger deal out of this, but the kicker, really, I think we can let this one slide, especially when it's a kicker from Miami of Ohio. It's not even like one of the best kickers in the country from Ohio State or Michigan, and he goes to Bama. This is the world we live in. My retaliation for Miami of Ohio, or my question back to them is, did you offer him an NIL deal? Did you take care of him? Did you say, hey, you're beloved here, we want to take care of you and want you to stay here? At the end of the day, maybe kids just want to go play for a legit program in Alabama where there's a chance to go perhaps play for a title. So, again, I put Chuck Martin here on the seat of, shut your mouth, Chuck. That's where we fall. All right, other news going on around the conference. Over at Texas, they made a late addition to their roster, and it is a big position of need, running back. Late Wednesday, veteran running back Velton Gardner announced he will play for Sark this fall. He's entering year 6 of his college career. He played at Kansas from 19 to 21, and of course, had the COVID year as an extra year of eligibility. Played only 3 games in 2021, so took a redshirt that year. Then spent the last 2 years at SMU. And in his college career, he has rushed for over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also has 22 receptions for 73 yards. Now, he's only twice carried the ball 70 times during a season. So, is he going to be a workhorse guy? No, but keep in mind, Texas lost C.J. Baxter for the season. They lost their incoming freshman Christian Clark for the season. So they just needed some more, another body in that room. Jaden Blue is going to be the guy that they hope can carry the load. They have Wisner. They have a true freshman, Jarek Gibson. But Anwar Richardson posted on Twitter that the staff was considering adding another body by moving their freshman receiver Ryan Niblett to running back. But this should help with having a little bit more depth. Velton Gardner going to be a Texas Longhorn in their backfield. Probably not going to play, but at least gives them another body in the room. Over at Tennessee, they're getting ready for a big season, and we'll get some announcements on what the jerseys and all that are going to look like, as the Vols announced on social media this week their week 1 uniform combinations. They will wear the smoky gray alternate uniforms for their opener against Chattanooga. And I know a lot of Vol fans on social media, there were mixed reactions to the smoky gray uniforms. Some people hate them. Some people like them. Regardless, they will wear the smoky grays. And that is what we'll get week 1 from Tennessee against Chattanooga. Meanwhile, over at Florida, they released their 12 uniform combos for the entire season. And Florida, for many of their home games, going with the classic look of orange helmets, blue jerseys, white pants. Gators will also sport that look on the road at Mississippi State, as the Bulldogs have a whiteout planned for September 21st. But there's a combo of note as a blue-on-blue look against LSU, the only time the Gators will wear their blue pants at home. So nothing too extreme. Of course, last season, Florida wore black uniforms for the first time in school history, saluting those who serve in that game on honoring the veterans. But one other Florida note here, Steve Spurrier was asked about Billy Napier and his expectations for Florida this year. Well, Spurrier, always vocal, is optimistic about the Gators and their expectations. He said, look, I'm going to pick the Gators to finish somewhere around 5th or 6th in the conference, win between 8 and 10 games, maybe 9, something like that. He said, I think we have a lot of good players. If we could beat Miami in that first game, start to develop some confidence that we're good enough to win, and now let's go do it, maybe that will sustain us throughout the course of the season. So, look, 8 wins would be the best year that they've had under Billy Napier. And, if you trust a lot of these sports books, FanDuel and others, they got them about 4.5, 5 wins. Can they win that minimum? I think they will be in good company if they can do that. So we'll see, and certainly save his job. Billy Napier will be back for another year if he can win 8 games this year with that schedule. But the last 4 or 5 games of the year is an absolutely brutal stretch. And as we saw last year, they started 5-2 and then lost 5 in a row and couldn't even salvage to get 6-6 and get to a bowl game. So we'll see what happens there. Quick baseball nugget here as we wrap up going around the conference. The SEC baseball tournament going to be staying put in Hoover, Alabama. In October, it was reported by Kendall Rogers that league coaches had voted to keep the tournament at the Hoover Met. Dallas had made a lucrative offer to host the tournament, but on Sunday, the SEC made it official. The conference announcing the SEC tournament will be played in Hoover through at least 2028. So that's several more seasons. The conference will have options to exercise additional extensions for 2029 and 2030. Greg Sankey saying in a release, the SEC tournament has become one of the premier events in college baseball, and the Hoover Met is a special venue for our fans. We look forward to continuing a positive relationship with the city of Hoover as a home of our baseball tournament. Look, I know a lot of people, it's an easy drivable game for a lot of folks in the SEC, but keep in mind, you're expanding a little bit further west now and adding Texas and Oklahoma. So a little bit further of a drive for those programs, but for everybody else, within driving distance of Birmingham, it's super convenient. So they're going to stay put there, and we'll see if this thing moves later down the road. All right, still more to come here on Locked On SEC, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're bringing a little of our conversation. We're able to catch up with Laura Rutledge with the cool thing that she's promoting, of course, from ESPN's NFL Live and SEC Nation on the SEC Network. We'll bring you that conversation coming your way in just a sec. Well, first, I want to remind you guys about our friends at the Game Time app. Look, Game Time has a new feature. It is called Game Time Picks, and that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks is going to filter out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Have you been to some of these ticket sites? It can get pretty complicated and pretty overwhelming. Game Time is going to take a lot of that complication out of the process. And of course, with Game Time Picks, curation makes it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever it is. The all-in pricing feature, that's my favorite. It's a feature you have to turn on, but once you turn on, you toggle that feature, shows your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, of course, features at Game Time will credit you 100%, 10% of the difference. And takes the guesswork out of buying concert tickets or football tickets, whatever it is with Game Time. Go download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDON College, LOCKEDON COLLEGE. If you've never used them before, that'll get you $20 off. Download Game Time today. It is last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC, and as we're knocking on the door of the start of another college football season, or football season in general, we got NFL coming up. Probably a lot of you are getting ready for your fantasy football drafts and all that kind of stuff. A lot of you get ready for tailgating and what you're going to be doing throughout the season in tailgating, whether it's college, whether it's pro, whatever it is. And some cool stuff going on with Laura Rutledge and a company she's working with. Sure many of you have had for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, honey baked ham. So without further ado, here was a little bit of our conversation with Laura Rutledge talking a number of college football topics and other things earlier.
We're talking with Laura Rutledge, and she's teamed up with Honey Baked Ham, and they're going to be out at college football games with an 8-stop tailgate tour throughout this college football season. Dallas is going to be one of their stops right up the road. But, Laura, I saw you at SEC Media Days a couple weeks ago, and it's still weird. Like, we're seeing this morning Texas and Texas A&M are having a joint press conference to talk about the Lone Star Showdown and all this. And what do you make of Welcome Texas and the Longhorns and a preseason top 5 team joining the SEC this year?
Yeah, it's exciting. I was really fortunate to be able to do the actual welcoming Texas to the SEC show a month or so ago. And we were like, oh my goodness. I mean, we led into a Pitbull concert. It was like there were thousands of fans there. Texas is ready. The fans are ready to be part of the SEC, and the SEC is ready to welcome them in. The funny thing has been, some of these other opposing fan bases or even some coaches, they're like, now, wait a second, Texas, don't come in here and start beating up on our teams. And I think it just speaks to the respect that everybody has of what Steve Sarkisian and company is doing there in Austin. They are a team that should be right at the top of the playoffs when it comes all down to it. And to know that you've got Quinn Ewers coming back, you're a physical team that doesn't lose players on that side. There's so much talent across the board, but I think it's the style of play that fits right into the competition they'll face in the SEC. And then to know you've got like the deepest quarterback room in the country in college football with Arch Manning. This is Quinn Ewers' job. There's no doubt about it. But God forbid something happen. You know that you have depth at a key position. To me, that's one reason why I would point toward Texas as being able to make a really nice run in the playoff this season.
Talking with Laura Rutledge, and the game day spread, an important part of the game day experience. We mentioned you're getting to work a little bit with Honey Baked Ham. Get our listeners ready for game day. What do they have to get to prepare for the right spread on game day?
Yeah, the game day spread is crucial, as you're pointing out. And you know I love food. So Honey Baked Ham has you covered. Their game day spread is unbelievable. The sliders are so yummy, and everybody loves a good slider at a tailgate. They actually have a new pulled pork Cuban slider that you would love. So you need to try that one, as well as the great sides. You've got so many options there. The classic ham with that sweet and crunchy glaze that is so iconic when it comes to Honey Baked Ham. And then their sandwich platter, which has it's something for everybody. People can grab these and just kind of walk around, enjoy the tailgate, or sit down if you're real serious about eating like I am. But so many options, super convenient. You can get it all with a game day box, which is a complete game day meal. You guys are absolutely going to love this. It's going to take your tailgate and home gate to the next level.
It's crazy to think SEC Nation has been on the air now, a decade now. Give me some behind the scenes of all those guys you've worked with, from Feinbaum, Roman Harper, Jordan Rogers, Tebow, Marty Smith. Who can chow down the most?
Well, so I'd have to shout out Marcus, who used to be on the show. He's definitely my buddy when it comes to chowing down. But I would actually say that it's probably Jordan, which is surprising because he's not like the biggest guy. But Tebow's pretty selective about what he eats. You know, he's very particular. It's got to be like pretty much just meat and eggs and maybe the occasional avocado. Roman, you know, he's got to keep that physique going. And Paul doesn't eat.
Yeah,
so
it really.
It's really Jordan if we're talking about somebody who's actually going to eat. He enjoys a good game day meal for sure.
All right, one more here for Laura Rutledge, of course, on ESPN, NFL Live, and SEC Nation on the SEC Network. Give us your college football national championship game pick, and I guess Super Bowl while we're at it.
Okay, college football national championship game is Ohio State and Georgia. And I wish I could be like really original about my Super Bowl matchup, but I think it's going to be the Chiefs and 49ers again. I keep trying to come up with somebody in the NFC that's going to really challenge the Niners, but I think they're too stacked if they get some of these deals done, which I think they will, and they'll end up being back there. And the Chiefs, golly, we need to see if we can get these Texans to going up there and challenge those Chiefs in the AFC. But right now, I'm going to say Chiefs 49ers.
She is the great Laura Rutledge. Really appreciate the time. Thanks so much, as always.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
All right, that was Laura Rutledge there of, like we said, SEC Nation, and does some great stuff on NFL Live during the week on ESPN and all that kind of stuff as well. Great stuff. One more tidbit. We had been waiting to see LSU was waiting to name their number 18. Of course, it's a legacy number, you know, that number that they always want to give to the big leader of the team. And just last night they announced 6th-year senior LSU grad and national champion Josh Williams, who's kind of their number 1, number 2 running back with Caleb Jackson there. He is going to wear number 18. So congrats to Josh Williams at LSU. He will wear the number 18. And as a guy who started as a walk-on, it's always cool to see those stories of guys who start as a walk-on and become one of the biggest leaders of the football team. He's had some big blocks for them, and helped win the Bama game, and was part of that championship team. Like we said, 6-year senior, so been around there a while. All right, thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Now you can go check out Locked On College Football, from NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors. Spencer McLaughlin getting you ready for an exciting year on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't even need to search it. Find it in the description of this show. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. I'm Chris Gordy. You guys have an awesome weekend, week 0. By the way, betting pick, maybe we'll take Georgia Tech plus the 10.5 against FSU on FanDuel. That's where the line is. Maybe it's interesting. Maybe it's close. Most people think Florida State's going to blow them out, but it's the one interesting game happening this weekend. So we're excited. College football is back. College game day is back. Nick Saban will be part of the college game day crew on Saturday morning. So that's going to be fun from Dublin, Ireland. It'll be our nice appetizer where we guys get you guys ready for next week, a full weekend slate of college football next week in the SEC. I cannot wait. It is upon us. The next time I talk to you guys, it will be game week for the SEC. I'm Chris Gordy. This has been Locked on SEC. You guys have a great weekend.